Hey everyone, welcome back to Escape Reality Star Wars Talk. I'm your host Caleb.
Hi, I'm Seth. I talk Star Wars with this man.
Uh, and today we're going to be talking about, from a certain point of view, Return of the Jedi. But before we get into that, we normally like to start the show by talking about our week so far and what outside of Star Wars we've been up to. I'll start this time.
Yeah, okay.
I finished Baldur's Gate 3 finally, my first run, anyways.
Mm.
As y'all might have already known, if y'all watch this channel and watch the streams, then y'all saw what happened. I was telling you some of it, but I didn't tell
Yeah,
you the worst thing. So let me put the spoiler warning up
okay.
because this is in-game stuff, and it's only fair to throw up the spoiler warning on this one because this is the end of the game. Let me fix our camera a little bit. There we go. This is the end of the game, so
Mm.
this is all spoiler stuff. If y'all don't want to be spoiled, just watch for when this disappears. Once this disappears, then we're done talking spoilers. So first off, like I was telling you when we first got here, I did manage to get what I perceive as probably the best endings for Gale, Karlak, Will, and Lae'zel.
Mm.
So in the case of Lae'zel, she's the one whose ending ends first, which is she went off to be a dragon rider with her silver sword alongside the prince of the Gith,
Alright.
so that way they can overthrow uh, Blacketh, because they got to get rid of that Lich Queen because she's a lying. Uh,
Yep.
and so yeah, so because we freed the prince, which is gonna come back around to why things don't go well for my character.
Okay.
But let's continue with the good parts. So Gale, they don't show us, but it basically hints that he's gonna gain good favor the with Mistra again,
Mm.
because we basically are like, he's like, hey, we got the crown of Karsus. Now what do we do with it? And I'm like, you should return it to Mistra. You should fix your problems. Plus, then you won't have a bomb inside your chest
Yeah.
because Mistra promised to remove that if you helped give her the crown of Karsus. Because the other options are you could just leave it in the sea because it's in the sea or
Mm.
rather in the river, in the Chianthar River at the moment, because of a big battle with the Elder Brain that's over the city of Baldur's Gate.
Okay.
Because the final battle is just this huge battle that takes place in Baldur's Gate with everybody turning into mind flayers and you on top of the Elder Brain fighting its minions and dealing with it. And so then there's um going back to that, so Gale's ending is that. Uh Will and Carlax is kind of connected. So throughout the game, you eventually learn that Carlax's heart problem, the fact she has no heart and has a infernal
Yeah.
engine inside of her, is a problem in that no matter how much you have Damon fix some of it, there is no cure and she will die unless she goes back to Avernus. And so, and of course, she doesn't want to do that because Zariel's there waiting for her to kind of be like, hey, you're mine again. Um, well, that problem is solved because Will is also going to Avernus because he may have lost his magic because he no longer has a patron, but
Mm.
he's decided that because he had a choice early on, which was to either work for his dad and basically become a one of the Dukes of Baldur's Gate,
Mm-hmm.
or not do that. And basically, I left the choice to him because I was like, I could impose you working with your dad, but I feel like that's not right. Let's see what you want to
Mm.
do. And Will's like, yeah, I don't want to do that. But I also don't want to be the Blade of Frontiers anymore either. I'm now going to be the Blade of Avernus, and I'm going to go into Avernus and start hunting down devils and demons. Because basically, he doesn't want people to make the same mistake he did with Mizora.
Mm.
And best way to do that is get rid of them devils and demons. And the only way you can properly kill them is if you kill them in hell. So, to Avernus he goes.
Yep.
And so, basically, Karlak is like, I don't want to die. And I'm like, yeah, but you don't have to. You can go to Avernus, and guess what? You won't be alone. You'll still have somebody there with you. Will even offers beforehand. He's
Yeah.
like, "I'll go with you. I will protect you," and like it's just like, oh, that's really sweet. Fuck. And so like, how can you say no to that? So I'd like make that offer. I'm like, yeah,
All right.
do that. And so
Yeah.
that's the ending they got. And they even get a cool little cutscene they are the last cutscene. Their
All right.
cutscene is the last one, which is like them in hell together, just as like all the devils and demons are coming ready, and they're like armed and ready. It's like this badass like ending that I'm like, oh, that's a great way to end it. Um,
So I might be getting some notifications.
yeah, because your phone was dead,
Yeah.
and you had no way of charging it till now, so
For
everything's
like
going
a
off.
good almost 3 days.
So yeah, now everything's going off. So hopefully we can avoid too much of
Yeah.
distracting y'all. Um, and then next up was who else did I say? Oh, I gave everybody. Okay, so that's all the good endings.
Yes.
The people that are entirely ignored are Shadowheart because I didn't technically finish her quest. I should have, but I didn't realize where I needed to go to do that until afterwards. Because there's a part where you're supposed to save her parents, and I didn't do that because I didn't know where to go.
My parents are dead. Fuck you.
Well, no. In fact, the game just ignores any consequences of that. Like, and it also ignores the fact that we were in a romance.
Where's Shadow?
Which makes
she's
which,
somewhere.
Which it makes kind of sense when I tell you what happened to my character, but we'll save that for last.
I remember you did a Dark Urge playthrough.
Yes. So the other characters that get that have no mention of what happens to their fate really are Halson, Jahira, and Minsk.
They're somewhere.
Like no, they're with you at the end, but like they don't like we don't get a what are they gonna do next type thing. So we don't get that. Same thing with Shadowheart. Like Shadowheart's there, just no what now moment for them. And so that's the ignored. So that's kind of the in between good and bad. Like that's the neutral, I feel like, of things that happen in the game for my ending. Here's where we start to go into the bad. We get a bittersweet ending with Asterion, because Asterion is alive, he's fine, except he's still a vampire spawn and therefore can't be out in the sun and therefore runs away from us once the tadpole is gone, which means he no longer has the protection of that from the sun. Yeah. And it's kind of a sad moment too, because you're just like, oh, that's like, and then like Halson's like, yeah, it's gonna be a while before we see him. Like, Halson, now is not the time to joke.
In approximately 12 hours, we'll see him again. Just not right now.
Yeah, it kind of sucks though, because you feel bad, because like over the course of the game, like you learn that Asterian's not a bad person. He just has a lot of trauma. Because we're talking about coming from a generational trauma situation where his vampire lord was an abusive asshole who only let him feed on rats and shit like that, who only became abusive because his vampire lord was an abusive asshole. And basically, and the only reason Cazador becomes the new vampire lord is because he just kills his master, which is what Asterion also does. Like, we help him kill Cazador, but we stop him from going too far. We stop him from doing the ritual that would have made him like super vampire and let him be out in the day. So it's technically our fault he's not out in the day, but also it prevents him from going down a path that he would have regretted, because it makes him more evil. And we start to you start to see that bodily autonomy does not become a thing he respects anymore, from what I've read of what happens like if you go through with that ritual, because like that's also part of a Sarian story, is like bodily autonomy and stuff like that. And so because Cazador had no respect for that. And so that's why like Asterian's romance is really weird, in that he will flirt with you, but if you like try to jump to sex, he's a little bit more like, he wants that, but he's like wary of that, because like it just like he wants somebody that he knows will respect boundaries, because he's never had them before. He's never been allowed to have them, rather, is what I mean by that. And so that's why it kind of sucks that Asterion kind of gets shit on that ending, even though that's like the best ending I could have given him. I think.
I this is made even funnier because
You're not a
me
big
and you,
Asterion fan.
I'm not a big Asterion fan. However, I don't hate the guy.
Yeah.
I'm not like fuck you, die. I'm like Gale, who
And even then, like, you're starting to come around
like
as
I
I've
get
like
it.
talked to you about him more
Like
and
I
more.
get it. I
Like,
don't necessarily.
you don't
I
have to
don't
like
like
it. Yeah.
them, but I don't want the. There's a lot of like just unfair shit that happens to everyone in this game where I'm like, okay, fine, I'll put on the fucking empathy for 5 minutes.
Well, because like, that's the thing. All of the characters come with some sort of thing, except for well, Karlach's probably the least asshole of the group.
Yeah,
Like, and even then, she's not. She's just not. She's
she's
golden.
a little.
She's golden retriever energy.
She just gets a little bit mad sometimes.
Yeah, and it's not even at you.
Yeah, it's someone who fucking deserves
it's
it.
Zariel and shit
Yeah.
like that. And so really, she's the only one that doesn't come with like an actual issue other than her
You know,
heart condition.
I was going to joke, and I not intentionally, but I realized that it would have been a pun. It's a mechanical issue for her.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wait a minute, that's kind of fucked up.
But going back to the endings,
Yeah,
so that brings us to me,
yeah.
which means I now have to explain things I did.
What did you do?
So first, we had to betray the Emperor Mind Flayer
Okay,
because that was the only way that we could get the Prince of the Githyanki freed.
all right.
Because he wanted to suck that guy's soul and be like, get rid of him because
Alright.
Githyanki and Mind Flayers hate each other.
Yeah.
Type thing. And so
They have a history.
yeah, the Emperor's like, hey, I'm trying to help you and you need me because you need a Mind Flayer to use the not the crown of Karsus, but the pieces that we picked up from because each time we kill a boss.
Mm.
So like when we kill Gortash, Orin, and oh, I forgot his name now because it's been so long since I had to deal with him. J.K. Simmons' character,
Okay.
J. Jonah Jameson as an evil general.
I want pictures of Spider-Man.
I want the pictures of the Dridermen. Basically, I said, fuck that. You can't have these. I don't trust you still, even though we know you're Balduran, but I also don't trust that you're, like, human anymore, because, like, that was a long time ago.
Because Mind Flayer.
Yeah, because when you become a Mind Flayer, you lose all sense of your person, and
Yeah.
you're no longer who you were when you transform. And the longer you're a Mind Flayer, the less
The
you
worse
are.
it gets.
Yeah, the worse it gets. And so, like, I'm like, I don't trust you. And then I'm like, I'm going to free this motherfucker. And then he's like, okay, I'm going to switch sides then. I'm working for the Absolute. Bye. And it's just like, fuck. So the last boss fight is actually with him there.
Alright.
And then because I freed that man, that means somebody still had to become a Mind Flayer to use the thing to stop the Absolute.
Mm-hmm.
And our choices were either make the prince do that or do that ourselves.
Mm.
I couldn't make the prince do that. I just freed the man. And I freed the man because of the overarching this man has to also go on to help fix things for the Githyanki. And if I free him just to then go, oh, you're a Mind Flayer now, then that undoes his purpose of me freeing him. So I made the sacrifice to be the Mind Flayer. Which means, and this is you don't go back to normal.
Yeah.
This is you are a Mind Flayer.
If you make this choice, you're going to be stuck with it for a while.
Well, forever.
Yeah, for a while and forever.
So this is
I guess there's a very clear distinction between the two.
yeah, for a while implies that I can undo it. Forever does not. Forever says I am this. And so with that in mind, so that's part of my sad ending.
Mm.
But it's like they imply that for the most part I am me still. For now. And that I made the promise of like, hey, if I do feel like I'm losing control, just go ahead and feel free to end it. So, because
Yeah.
I don't want to endanger the world. I just saved it.
Yep.
And so, and it's funny that the Githyanki Prince is like, I normally hate mind flayers, but you made such a noble sacrifice that we will forever talk about the rebel mind flayer that saved Faerun and also the Githyanki. And I'm just like, fuck. So now I'm like a legend amongst the Githyanki. So that's a brighter part of that. This is where it's just bad.
Okay.
So remember how I said I failed that fight with Orin, which meant I was still like dealing with the responsibilities of being a ball spawn?
Mm-hmm.
Because there is a way to remove the taint of the ball spawn, but you have to win that fight with Orin. I did not. So yeah, the ball spawn. So Ball tries to command me to do some shady things.
As he does.
Yeah, to commit murder because he is the god of murder. I try to resist. I fail. And so, yeah, it's implied that I'd go on a murder spree.
Oh dear.
Or at least I kill one guy, at the very least. It's implied that I murder. That's the important part. And it's just like, so, yeah, my Dark Urge, part of the Dark Urge thing went bad. Which means I definitely have to do another good Dark Urge run because I have to do things properly. I have to. I got to do one where I actually do get the taint removed because that can't be the ending I want. But that's going to be in a private one. That's going to be a replay sort of deal, which I already did started doing some replay. But I also have the run with you. Yeah. I've got the run with my dad. I've got the run.
How is the run with your dad going?
It's been a minute. I haven't updated. We are now about the same. Well, you and me are almost at the same place that he and I are at. Okay. So we're still in Act 1.
I remember the owlbear and.
Yeah.
So, I remember attacking it.
Yeah. So we're done with spoilers. So that's the end of the discussion for spoilers for my run. This is going to kind of go now blending into what we were up to this week. Yeah. And we'll kind of we'll shift it towards you, starting with our Tuesday, us playing Baldur's Gate 3.
The old, Sona...
Well, that was 2 weeks ago, but it still counts, because we didn't talk about it.
Yeah, so I'm like, there's an owlbear over there, and there's a thing that I want. I could try to sneak past it, or I could try to kill it.
And then I activate the fight, I'm pretty sure, if I remember.
You didn't. I fucking fully went for it.
Oh, no. I'm thinking of the gameplay that I did with Josh, Alex, and Cracker. That one I activated the fight.
I was, trying to figure... I'm like, I could try to sneak past it, but I was seeing, its field of view and how much of it was red, and I was like... Or I could just fight it.
Yeah.
And not have to deal with that. Which worked out great for me. Not so much for you.
Oh, yeah, I got knocked.
Yeah, I don't know what you did.
I'm a squishy wizard.
I don't know what you did to that owlbear.
Oh, I lit it on fire.
Oh. You know what? If I was an owlbear, I'd be mad about the whole situation.
Because I firebolted it. I was just like, here you go, firebolt. Because it's free. It's a free spell. Why would I not use the free spell? Also, it didn't see me yet, so I figured, oh, I get a free shot.
I remember.
And then Asterion got a free shot because he was still hiding during the first round.
I remember at one point, right? I think I had Ricky Joe playing music for a turn.
Yeah.
Why did I do that?
But what else what have you gotten up to this week?
So, apart from my phone dying.
Yeah, and we'll have to, because we are running on time, so we'll...
So, apart from my phone dying, the other thing that I did this week, apart from go to work, is I've been playing through Bloodborne, and...
Yeah, we talked about that last week,
I finished that up, and now I'm doing another run through, where I'm, using the blunderbuss and the saw cleaver.
Okay, so you're doing more of a...
Yeah, I'm doing a different run.
Yeah.
The other thing that happened this week that was fun is... So, Andrew, Tori, and Kinsey went and carved jack-o'-lanterns.
Nice.
And during that time, I was like, "Hey, would you like to hear their like origin story?" Because they do have a story.
Yeah.
You've heard it before, right?
It's been a minute, but I know that there was one. It's been a minute.
Okay. Tell it later.
Yeah. Um.
It's a fun one. It involves the devil getting conned.
Oh, okay.
Um, the other thing that we did this week is we watched some Always Sunny,
Yeah,
and
you and I watched Always Sunny because
and
there was no
also
D&D game
yeah,
that week, and I didn't bring the PlayStation, so no Baldur's Gate, so we were like Always Sunny
yeah,
because it's been a minute.
and Suits, where I would just
Yeah, I tried to explain where I was on Suits to you, and
yeah,
that
and I was like, I fucking hate this.
what's funny is so I did talk to our friend Chris,
Yeah,
who is an actual lawyer, and I was
mhm,
like, I don't know if you've seen this show, but I don't know how to feel about these characters, and he explained to me. So he has seen the show, he's
yeah,
seen it all. So I was just so he tried not to spoil some stuff for me, but I kind of predicted that it was not going to go because like we discussed how premise of Suits real quick.
yeah,
Fake kid who was going to go to law school but didn't because of situational stuff gets hired by a lawyer who knows that he's not past the bar or anything,
yeah.
and basically they fake that he's a lawyer. Basic premise. That's like the bare minimum.
Mhm.
More and more people find out about this as the show goes on, including the main named like person of that.
Yeah, like the lawyer CEO, I guess.
Yeah, the name partner. That's the correct term. Name partner of that firm finds out about it, and like you and I discussed, the more and more people that find out about this, the worse it gets, and like for that firm, if that like if it ever
Yeah.
became public that Mike was not really a lawyer.
Yeah, I'm like, if anyone turns this in, the entire company is just fucked.
Yeah, and so like I talked about that with Chris, and he was like, "Yeah, don't get too excited about that happening." I'm just like, "Oh no, that means they didn't write it as awesome as we just came up with."
Like, I was like explaining like they're not going to do that in this season.
No,
That's like
because
a
we're in
season
because I was in
five
because
problem.
I was in season 4 at the time.
Yeah,
I'm in season 5 now. Season five's problems are not that big either.
and I'm like, I think the thing that frustrates like me with lawyer dramas is I'm like, to me the stakes are so low because a lot of the shows and stories I like are set in post-apocalyptic things where things are already bad enough. It
Yeah,
doesn't really matter what your paperwork says.
yeah, but in a lawyer show, it does
It's a
matter.
very different kind of tension. It's just one that I find incredibly like frustrating and boring at the same
It
time.
it's more of a tension of the justice system and will it work, which we know in real life it doesn't always, which is why there's the tension of that in a lawyer
I'm
show.
like,
And so what's funny is the season I explained to you of like the previous season where I was like, oh yeah, this lawyer killed a guy, or no, bribed a government official to kill a bunch of people.
yeah,
Apparently that's Chris's favorite story arc. He was like, yeah, which means I don't know if that like relates, and he's like, yeah, and also the renaming of the whole Game of Thrones defying of them like backstabbing so they can like become a name partner, not a thing in the real world. That's the show doing its
that
thing to create
I
drama.
was about to say that seems like the most unnecessary thing.
Well, also, and like I looked more into it, like realistically, even if a name partner leaves, like they don't change names to these firms, even if like it's very rare they change the
Yeah.
name of a firm, because that'd be like if McDonald's changed its name because a new owner came in and was like, "We're no longer McDonald's, we're whatever my name is." And then that ruins the brand because nobody knows this name. They know McDonald's.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with lawyers. With a law firm, you have the law firm name that you know, and
And that's it.
that's it. And then if they change the firm name because new name partner, that's changing the brand. That's you've ruined your brand because now there's no brand recognition. And so it's why I think I don't see it in other lawyer shows, like even Better Call Saul. He's not trying to change, he's not trying to become a name partner there. He wants to create his own firm with his brother and make McGill rather than Hamlin McGill, and
Mhm.
he doesn't want to make it Hamlin McGill. He doesn't care about that because that would be dumb. Because that's what I mean. That's reasonably what it would be if he became an.
H2HM2M.
Yeah. You don't
That's such a
become that.
stupid ass like long name.
But it's Hamlin. Usually, I don't think I don't think we've normally. I don't think you see 4 names on a.
Yeah,
I think 3 is
3
like
at most, and you're pushing it then.
because partners do different things. Because you got your name partner, then you got your managing partner, then you got like what which name partner is what now Harvey and Lewis are in the show where I'm at. But yeah, so yeah, and so explaining the show to you was like really bizarre, especially that specific plot, season 3's plot, which season 5's plot is now Lewis trying to fix things with everybody because he's he's burned so many fucking bridges to become name partner because he's an asshole. But also he wants to be friends with these people, and it's like you can't be friends with these people and beating the shit out of them, like metaphorically speaking, all the time. Harvey's the only one that beats people literally. We're also dealing with Harvey having a lot of in season 5 he's dealing with panic attacks because Donna no longer works for him. She works for Lewis because she basically was like, look, I still love you and it's becoming an issue, and so either you can also like work with me as your secretary and outside of work, but you got to start like communicating your feelings better. You can't like keep, because that's Harvey's problem. He cares about people, but he's terrible at showing it. And so now she's left him to work for Lewis, and now Harvey's dealing with he's having panic attacks, and he's dealing with the fact that he just has abandonment issues because of like what happened with his mom and dad, and how he also hates infidelity because of that, because his mom cheated on his dad. And so when his mom left, that creates part of the abandonment issues, but also creates the infidelity issues where he will not sleep with married women as like a policy because of that. He also like hates people who cheat, and so there was a moment where he hated Rachel because she kissed a guy outside of her relationship with Mike.
Sorry.
So like, and we talked about that, like it's not as big of an issue for some people, but that is an issue, and it's just like, and so for Harvey it's all coming to a head where it's like he's seeing a therapist now. Like that's kind of the part of season 5 where they're kind of like bookending it, where like a lot of the plots are him retelling the story from his perspective to the therapist. So season 5 is interesting. It's definitely not as good as the previous season so far, but I'm only like a few episodes in. Anyways, I took away what you were talking about, and yeah, let's give it a couple more minutes. And
what was it?
You were talking about watching Always Sunny and me explaining Suits.
Oh yeah, I remember like as you were explaining that to me, I remember a conversation we had a while back where I explained to you like the plot of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, like one of the seasons. I was like, yeah, man, we have to team up with the Germans to fight the Pillarmen. Otherwise, we're all gonna die because of vampires.
Yeah.
It was a pretty similar reaction then. Having to explain that, no, those guys aren't the bad guys in this season. Which is a wild thing to have happen.
Yeah.
The other...
So
nope, that's it.
Okay. Well then, if there's nothing else, we can jump into news.
Yeah.
Because we got a good bit of news. So, first up in Star Wars news, they're bringing BD droids to Galaxy's Edge. So at Galaxy's Edge, they have roaming droids.
Mm-hmm.
And now we'll be getting to see versions of our son from the Jedi games at the park. Because the BD units are, Cal's droid.
Okay.
So,
it took me a second. I was like, BD droids? What do those look like?
So the BD1,
Yeah.
BD1, BD2, whatever numbers they give them. And so, so Galaxy's Edge would be the park at Disney. So
my
they're adding
model of droid.
So they're bringing
the kind that helps you in a fight.
R2 is useful.
R2 is also useful,
but mostly in ships.
Yeah.
Mostly in ship combat, but he's also useful outside of it.
Conclusion that most of the droids I like are the non-humanoid ones.
The non-protocol droids.
Yeah.
Because protocol droids are meant to be exactly that. They are protocol. Their whole thing is we are butlers, essentially.
Yeah. I was like...
Which are useful in their purpose, but not for, like, combat situations.
Yeah, I like astromechs, because they're basically like Siri, but for your car.
They're your engineers.
They're your engineers. I like the BD units because they're just helpful.
Yeah.
And I like Lola because who couldn't?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next.
And Quinn.
Yeah, and Quentin. So yeah. So like this is like a good like. I think this is fun. Them adding more stuff. I mean, because it just creates more stuff to do at Galaxy's Edge. Next up is a group of publishing news that we have thanks to New York Comic Con because that just ended not too long ago.
Okay.
The bad news we'll start with is that the Bounty Hunters comic will be ending with issue 42, which is in January of next year.
Okay.
So we're wrapping up. And I know a lot of people that are upset about that because the fact that that's the only one getting cut right now is not a good sign for how the sales were doing for that. The consequences of that, though, is we'll be getting, and I don't know if we were going to get this either way, but we'll be getting a Jango Fett miniseries from Ethan Sachs, who is the lead writer of the Bounty Hunter series. So,
okay.
So I don't know if that's a consequence of us losing Bounty. Like, I don't know if Ethan was already working on. He probably was. It just feels weird that like, oh, Bounty Hunters gets announced as canceled, then Jango Fett comic.
Are they resolving the current plot points?
Yes. So
because I feel like there isn't like a lot left to wrap up for Bounty Hunters.
So from what I understand, because I'm not caught up on the comics right now, from what I understand, issue 42 will be the issue right after the Dark Droids arc.
Okay.
So literally they give one issue to resolve whatever other situations are going on, which kind of feels
because to me there's
weird,
not,
but
objectively it's weird, but in terms of like tonality, I don't feel as though there was much left.
I just hope that we still get a chance to. The problem is, like, how does that going to affect the characters? Like, are we going to ever see Valence again? But like, are we going to see Valence again in any other media, or is this the end of it? Because his comic book didn't do well. Will that reflect?
Yeah.
Like that, and that I know a lot of Valence fans. Because he's a well-written character with a huge fan base.
That man has gone through the ringer.
He's got a big fan base, and especially in the comic side, and especially in the LGBT community because they ship the Valence Han because it does read as Valence having a man crush on Han a lot. And so he's got a big community, so I hope that maybe we'll get a Bounty Hunters 2025 or whatever, 2024, I guess, actually run, like where they reset to number 1, maybe, when they reset the other comics, but we'll see. Probably not, though, from the sounds of it. The Jango Fett will premiere in March, though, and that's going to be like a mini-series, so probably 5 issues. As we predicted when we saw the cover for the new Revelations comic, we'll be getting a Mace Windu miniseries in January. And they'll finally be adapting the book Thrawn Alliances, which will also be in January. Because they already adapted the first book, the first novel, Thrawn. So they didn't... and that was back in... Because we talked about this when I saw when we talked about Revelations 2023. We talked about, oh, they're doing another Here's What's Coming Up comic, right? And we talked about what was on the cover.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, it's been a while since we've seen Thrawn in comics. Since 2014, I think. 2014, 2015.
Been like a couple of years.
It's almost been a decade. So it was 2016. 2016 was when Thrawn came out. So that's still like a good while. It's almost 2024. And we haven't had Thrawn in comics since then. And it's also weird that they wrote the other books, and we've also had another trilogy of Thrawn books, and we still haven't had an adaptation of the second book in that first trilogy. So now we're getting it, which is weird. But I understand why we're getting it now.
Oh, yeah.
Because of things we still can't talk about.
Yep.
But also, it's weird that they didn't do it earlier.
Yeah, I guess.
Especially, once again, you have a whole nother book trilogy that has come out since then. And talks of another trilogy being in the works for the books. once again because of consequences
Yeah.
of things from
You know, I was thinking about this. I think Windu would be a slightly better character if he was allowed to spare more. But that might be on account of
which this is actually Mace's second canon
yeah.
miniseries because he has one that takes place during the Clone Wars, at the beginning of the Clone Wars, which we'll get to next season, hopefully. Um, this one I think is supposed to take place um
Before.
before. I think this is gonna tie into the other thing that they talked about, which we've already discussed. We talked about last week, which was the announcement of the Living Force novel from John Jackson Miller, which takes place before the Phantom Menace. That's coming out April 9th. So I think this is kind of a tie-in, not a full-on tie-in like the way High Republic does their stuff, but like a more synergy type thing where like they were like, we're already doing a novel about the Jedi Council. Let's pick somebody that's popular and make a
Yeah.
comic series about them, and Mace Windu happened to be the pick. Which I think that's a good pick. I think Mace Windu is a character that there's room to explore.
Yeah.
While he's a well-known character within the Jedi Council,
Yeah.
he's still somebody that we know still so little about within canon. We know a little bit about his past as a youngling, like as an apprentice, but not a lot. And so there's still room to explore him as a character. But yeah, they talked about the Living Force novel, which we already talked about was coming out. That's April 9th. And we talked about how that's going to be about the Jedi Council before the events of Phantom Menace. Apparently, it was revealed in this panel that one of the funniest scenes between Kiadi-Mundi and Yariel Poof is in this book.
Really?
So, they didn't say what happens. They just said, like, this is one of the funniest scenes between these two characters.
You motherfucker, you stole my cream puff again.
They also talked about the recently published first issue of Shadows of Starlight comic, which is part of the High Republic, as well as the upcoming fourth issue, because they're already like a few issues in for that one. And also the upcoming issues for the mainline High Republic comic and High Republic Adventures for the resets, because, we got the resets for Phase 3. They also discussed the soon upcoming Eye of Darkness novel and previewed some of the pages of the High Republic Character Encyclopedia, which is coming out December 6th. So there's a lot there. We got a lot in publishing news. I'm excited. A lot of comics, a lot of novels, stuff that I'm ready for. In gaming news, Minecraft announced a Path of the Jedi DLC.
Oh boy.
Because they've already done Star Wars stuff before where they did the skins DLCs. This will be letting players have lightsabers, adding Coruscant and Camino as maps.
Okay.
Adding Shakti, Obi-Wan, Kenobi, Kit Fisto, Mace Windu, Yoda, and General Grievous into the game. And players will be able to force push, force grip, dual-wield lightsabers, and double jump. Apparently, this is going to be a story-based adventure DLC. Because they do that every now and then, where they have like a story-based thing. And it's coming out November 7th. So guess I need to boot Minecraft back up and get this DLC next month. I know you're not as big into Minecraft. You're surrounded by Minecraft heads though.
Yeah.
In that house.
I do play it, but it's
just not one of your favorites.
It's not a bad game. I enjoy it from time to time. It's just one of those things where I've never beaten the game because I get to a point where I'm like, I'm good.
To be fair, the game is not about, like, yes, there is an end by killing the Ender Dragon, but it's not about that.
Yeah,
it's just a chill, relax game, build your house, and operate from day to day type game.
Like, you've seen like the world that I have
yeah. Like it's
not mastered, but you get the point. Like I have built roads to the end of the world.
Yeah.
I went on a bit of a massacre against the pillagers,
So the game's not really about winning. It's about just playing and relaxing and being creative. That's it. That's really all it's about.
The funny thing about that world, right?
Yeah.
The one where I did a bunch of stuff. So the villagers in that village that I live next to, right?
Yep.
Well, unfortunately, there were a fuck ton of caves underneath them.
Oh.
Like, if villagers could dig, 10 blocks down, they'd end up in a cave system. And they also live next to a ravine. I didn't decide that. The game did. So they all kind of died from just monsters.
Yeah.
As I was like going digging and getting things, like I tried clearing them out, putting up torches so that that wouldn't happen. It didn't work.
But yeah. Lastly, in news, the
Mm,
last piece,
yes.
we have a new official lightsaber that people can buy
Oh yeah.
that's coming out, and it is a High Republic one.
Oh. Ooh.
They are releasing a Stellan Geos lightsaber. It'll be later this fall on Shop Disney and at the resorts. Apparently, there will only be 5,000 pieces globally.
Oh.
So I'm gonna have to get right on this, as it might be my favorite design for a crossguard saber.
What this looks like, man.
Oh, I'll pull up the picture. Yeah. It's one of my favorites. It's that it's a crossguard type. I'll also pop it up for the. So it is just the hilt that they're selling, and then you have to get like the blade separately.
Mm.
Yeah, this is.
I do like the design because it actually looks pretty sleek.
Yeah, let me pull it up for. I think this is the official one. Hold on. I'm making sure we get the official design. Yep, this is it. Here we go. So this is it. I love this design.
Yeah.
Like
I like it too. I was about to say it looks like someone who actually knew what they were doing made this one.
Well, it's Stellan. Know he overthought that shit.
It's like, how do I make sure that I don't fucking cut off my own hand?
So I think the hilt has to come with the extension ones for it, but you probably have to get the main blade yourself. Which I mean, I've already got one, so because I could remove that one and then put it, because you can remove and use the same one. So I can't do that for the Darth Maul one. It's a different design. I can't
take it out.
Yeah. But my Revan one I could. So the Revan one would work with that.
You know, I almost forgot. Like, so I went and I couldn't rewatch the entirety, but I did go and like watch a reaction of episode 6, seeing as how I was like, sure, why not? Because we have to read it for this week, and
so it just made sense to get the main story and then have the side stories with it.
Yeah. I forgot how much like I just enjoyed.
Return of the Jedi is great.
Yeah.
Which that's going to bring us into today's topic.
Yep.
So, and we can discuss that as we talk about this, because we're talking about from a certain point of view, Return of the Jedi. Obviously, as always, spoilers.
Spoiler warning.
So, we're not going to talk about every story. We're just going to talk about our favorites.
Jump around a bit.
And so since you're already talking about, I mean, this book is to celebrate the 40th anniversary of that movie. Yeah. So obviously, talking about the movie makes a little bit of sense in that it inspired this book. It's such a fun movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's not the strongest of the original trilogy, but it's definitely not the weakest.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get flack for this.
Go for it.
I know that original Star Wars, A New Hope, as it's now known, started the universe, but it is the weakest of the trilogy.
All right. Fair enough. Like, I don't disagree with that, because 5 and 6...
Well, 5 is the best of the trilogy.
Yeah. Like, 4 teed it up, and 5 fucking slammed that out of the park.
And 6 is just, while it's not as strong as 5, it's just a fun movie.
Yeah.
And that's really, like, you don't need to be the strongest movie all the time. You can just make a fun movie. And that's what I think 6 is. It also wraps up everything so nicely. Yeah. Which, speaking of, let's go ahead and kind of jump around to our favorite stories. The Sarlacc is one of...
The Sarlacc is a good one.
It's basically, to explain this premise, they said, what if the Sarlacc was a Cali dude? They even give him, like, the accent, like, because in the audiobook, they give him, like, the accent and everything, too, where he's got that Californian, like, what's it called? Where, like, the
He's got like the surfer.
Yeah, that surfer sound to it. I was trying to get the right name for it, but I can't remember now. But yeah, it's like the surfer type accent.
I was going to say Santa
Vocal fry,
Monica,
vocal
but
fry. That's what I was thinking of. They give him that vocal fry that like surfers have in California, like in all like media, where they give that weird like, yeah. So they give him that, and I think it's great. It's just a funny point of view to look at because the Sarlacc's like, I don't want to eat people. Why are they tossing these people into me?
throwing people into me. I fucking hate it.
And he can't go anywhere. It makes me feel bad for what happens to him in Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah. He's like, the end of it is like, maybe things will be different this time.
Yeah.
They'll be different, all right.
Yeah, because it ends before Boba Fett gets out, but he like talks about how he's like not happy with Boba Fett in there, especially with all the armor.
Like, I didn't want to eat him, but also like, why did you do this to yourself, man?
He's like, I don't know why you jumped into me. Because that's how he views it. He views it as Boba Fett purposefully went in. And he's like, why would you do that?
A good one that I really like from the Empire kind of like perspective of this, because this book jumps around.
Yeah, it jumps to everyone.
It's like the guys that are on Palpatine's ship as he's coming in, and he's like, yeah, I remember that time I fucking killed a guy in a grain tower. I'm like, what?
Yeah, because like some of them are like, I'm gonna be ready for when Palpatine shows up. I'm gonna be, and it's like, no, you're not.
Yeah, and like he's like, I'm just gonna, like, he takes a nap while, because Palpatine's like in the back of the ship. He's like, I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
Whatever happens, I'm good.
I also like the stormtroopers unionizing.
Oh yeah, I love,
which is very, it's weird how this book came out when it did, with like how much unions are like a major thing right now. So like it's like, funny seeing the stormtroopers unionize.
Oh god, the best part of it, right, is I actually really like that story because of how it's written like a daily log.
Mm-hmm.
Almost kind of like an SCP entry if you've ever sat down and read one of those.
Yeah.
I fucking love it because they're like, so anyhow, the like protagonist is like, oh yeah, Ugnaughts. Clearly that's what the U word is.
But yeah.
Also, where the fuck is our calf?
I want like good calf. That's all he wants.
They want calf at all. They're not getting any of it.
Yeah.
And like, the ISB has been prioritized for calf. It's like, fuck you, man.
We do the grunt work.
And also like the just not quite hatred, but the like, I swear to God that droid ran over my foot on purpose. It's very funny because a droid goes on to save him later.
It's very Office Space, like it's very like Office comedy type.
It's more comedic than anything,
and it's great. Like, it's great.
I'm like, oh man, buddy, you have so many more problems to worry about than like.
It's even better because in the audiobook it's read by, because they switch narrators for each story. It's read by the guy from Parks and Rec, not the serious one, the one that dates Leslie for a minute. You know what I'm talking about?
No, because I didn't watch Parks and Rec.
It's read by, I'm trying to find his actor now. Adam Scott. Adam Scott's the narrator, which makes it so great because I immediately think of his character Ben a little bit from that as he's reading it. I'm just like, Ben Wyatt wants to have more calf in the, and so.
Also another good one is reading about like the Rancor handler.
Yeah,
and I enjoyed that one.
Which we kind of know his story like throughout canon. It's very much a sad story for him of what happens to his poor Rancor and how much he loves his Rancor, and
dude just loves animals.
He lost his pit bull essentially. A man, a space cop came in and killed his pit bull.
Mr. Worldwide, no,
wrong pit bull. But yeah, he just cares about animals and training them, and
then there's Jess's story.
Oh yeah,
one of the like Max Rebo's story. I'm like, this is a very weird tonal shift for me.
Also, they changed his music, because initially everybody thought that he played the same music that every band
Yeah.
plays, like, because, and this has caused a not serious but semi-joking like uproar amongst fans, thinking that they decanonized something, but that's not the case.
No.
So Jizz is still canon as a as a
Keep going.
because originally everybody thought that that's what Max Rebo also. So George Lucas is not the most original when it comes to naming things. So instead of jazz music, he's like, I'll just replace a letter. He replaced the letter A with I, therefore creating jizz music.
Don't worry, we have Jats now.
Yeah, we have Jats now. So
we also have another one that I don't remember the name of.
But jizz still exists.
Mhm.
So it's just not the type of music that Max plays, because the Cantina band music is still jizz. But that ruins a lot of the jokes that some of our mutuals came up with, such as Max Rebo playing jizz with his feet. Because Orleans, walk.
Yeah.
It's the.
They don't have any hands.
Yeah, they got feet. They just got feet, man.
They're like if someone took 2 off the elephant's 4 legs and made them walk upright.
Yeah. And so he has to like sit in his seat and then play with his feet.
Yeah.
But it's now Jats. So now we just have an expansion on the type of music in the Star Wars universe. It's not a removal of one for the other. We just retconned what type of music he plays while still keeping the original.
Also, like the torture droid being like, man, something's wrong here.
Oh yeah,
and
the
it's not
torture droid.
torture.
Yeah, the torture droid slowly gaining sentience, and it's just like after talking to R2, and it's just like, I don't feel good about this anymore. I want more.
I don't feel good that I'm not my own boss. I still want to torture people. I just want to do it on my own dime.
It's the Boba Fett effect.
Yeah.
He still wants to do bounty hunting and stuff, just not for somebody that he's working for.
Also, have they been wiping my memories during their monthly? Motherfucker.
Once again, the droid's slowly gaining sentience after one conversation with R2, where R2's like, yeah, you really should look out for yourself. And he's like, that little droid's right. I should. I also love any of the Ewok stories.
Oh yeah, the Ballad of Nanba might be my favorite one.
Oh, it's so sad.
Look, I don't. In case you haven't noticed, man.
It's even worse because I predicted that because that's the one I think it. If that's the one I think it is, that's the one where they
die.
Yeah. So I predicted that that's what was going to be the case.
They're going to die.
Well, I specifically predicted that I knew exactly which Ewoks it was.
Yeah.
Because that scene is ingrained in my head from Return of the Jedi, where the big explosion happens, the 2 Ewoks go flying, and then one of them doesn't get up, and the other one's like nudging him like Simba in Lion King, and it's just like, as a kid, that gets ingrained into you, and so like, I knew exactly that it was that scene before it happened. I was like, that's where they're going with this. That's where, and then it happens, and I'm just like, God damn it.
Yeah.
And then I also like
Wicked's like, God damn it, I just wanted a normal day.
Wicked doesn't want drama. He's
like,
done.
I'm fucking tired. I want to go and like eat my berries.
Meanwhile, Logray is planning a coup essentially.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't like that they aren't taking my magic seriously and me as the shaman. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, C-3PO shows up. Perfect. He's the golden god. He's my opportunity to like be like, hey, the gold one's here. You should listen to what I say. Unfortunately, C-3PO's like, nah, we're doing this war, and Logray's like, God damn it, that's not what I wanted.
And also, like, the winner's circle is a great euphemism.
Also the canon confirmation of Tebow as Logray's apprentice, because in Legends there was a animated TV show. If I can find it.
He's pulling out the files.
Ewoks animated cartoon. I love this cartoon. I love the old cartoons that they did, not canon. Along with the Droids cartoon that they did around the same time. But in this show, Logray's apprentice is Tebow. And basically they have magic and all that, and it's implied that, okay, that's connected to the Force, but of course, Ewoks don't know what the Force is.
Yeah.
So they just go, magic. And then, of course, you got Wicket right here, your buddy, as the star of the show. Here's Tebow on the back. So, yeah. So I kind of like that they recanonize some of those ideas, and I'm just like, oh, okay. And now I want an Ewok show again. I want a canon Ewok show.
I like
more Ewok content is good Ewok
I
content.
think one of my like favorite it's another one of the Empire stories, and I'm trying to remember it because I enjoy it, and it's like, man, safety rails.
Oh, yeah.
We need some goddamn safety rails.
I know that it's mentioned in the Royal Guard one, but it's not a main point. I like the Royal Guard one too, where they're like, what's going on in the room?
Like, so, bitch, 20 credits, he converts him to the dark side.
And then, like, only Luke and Vader come out, and they're like, what the fuck happened in there? And then
he's dead. What do you mean he's dead?
Palpatine's dead. Our boss is dead. And they're like, holy shit, we need to kill that guy.
What good is that gonna do us now?
And so, like,
he's gone. The Emperor is fucking dead.
We need to save Vader. Obviously, he took him prisoner. And then they see, like, Luke and Vader having their moment, and they're like, wait a minute. He didn't take him prisoner. What? What's going on? And it puts the point of view character into like a crisis of faith, where he's like, are we the bad guys?
It's like, did we spend our lives doing like 20 years of evil shit?
And then the other ones are like, no.
The other one is like, nah, man, we gotta kill that motherfucker.
I also like Palpatine's, obviously.
Palpatine is like, I control everything.
Yeah, so getting to see him like relive through the I am a Jedi like my father before me bit.
Oh, I'm sure you are.
Like, Palpatine is going through so much. He's like we go from him being really confident to like slowly descent into madness of like, this isn't gonna work. Holy shit. Oh no. But even then he's in denial. Like, by the end he's like, no, this'll
work.
And then nope, he's being, next thing we know, he's being thrown down the, and even then he's like, this will still work somehow. It's like, no,
it won't.
I mean, you'll come back.
You'll get better, but you're not winning today, pal.
It's a good thing you put all those contingency plans into effect.
Yeah, thank God you had he had a fucking in case of emergency.
That's most of the ones that I like remember that I'm like, I love those stories.
Another great one. I actually really like the one with Wedge, where he's like, my luck's gonna run out.
Lando's one is also good.
Yeah.
Like, seeing him connect to the pilots and try to like better understand them, and also have his pirates better understand as well, like trying to like get the smugglers and the rebels to like get along.
Yeah.
And be like, we need each other, especially during this moment, because we got to say fuck the Empire.
Yeah.
Because
Mothma is also very like intense for a thing that's 15 pages.
To be fair, she's about to become like the lead, like the absolute leader of this group.
The other, like, there's another short story that I really like. It's when the three stormtroopers are also like they've been captured, the Death Star has been blown up, and this guy's thinking about like, I might have to cut or like my own finger off to get out of here, because I am not going to be eaten by Ewoks.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know why third and fourth. I know. Oh, I think I know what they're talking about, but I don't know.
Clarification.
Yeah, we might need a little more clarification. Sorry. But that's it really for us talking about the stories. But I do have a question.
What?
Because I talked about this. So obviously they're gonna continue the from a certain point of views. We're gonna assume that they do one next year, and that they do 25 instead of waiting for the 40th anniversary.
Yeah.
So that means 25 stories 25th anniversary next year. Phantom Menace. So we're gonna just cut the ones that we already know. I'm gonna already say the ones that we know are gonna be part of it. They're gonna do Palpatine because Palpatine has been a point of view of every single one of the from a certain point of views. So we're probably gonna get his perspective on some stuff. This is a conversation I had with Harriet, so I'm interested on your opinions.
Okay.
Who would you put into the story? So we're gonna cut Palpatine. We already assume Palpatine's getting one because he's been in every single one. Who else would you put in one? And what maybe would that story be about?
Kind of want to see like what the Royal Guard are.
And
like we know what they're doing.
Yeah, because the other problem is there's a problem with this the certain point of view. We can basically not do any Naboo characters.
Yeah.
Because of the Queen's books. Because the first one, Queen's Peril, is an adaptation of the Phantom Menace.
Yeah. I guess we could do Yoda. I don't know what his thoughts on the whole fucking thing are.
Okay, so we got a Yoda one. That makes sense to me. One that we discussed because we were trying to think like deep, actual background characters. Quinlan Voss, because he's around. He's in the Phantom Menace. He's on Tatooine. He's in the background shot. What is he up to? What's his secret mission that he's up to that he like doesn't say hi to Qui-Gon when Qui-Gon passes him in
New Hope in the Empire.
Oh. I mean, I think they have about I don't really think quality wise there is a that big of an I'd
to
say
me the main difference, kind of like why I prefer 5 and 6, is because New Hope is the beginning. It is important. Like you can't ignore it. You need it for the setup for the rest of the story.
Yeah.
But in terms,
it also introduced the world and was the world building that we needed for Star Wars. Yeah.
But it does not carry the same kind of emotional weight as the 2 following it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I prefer them. So that's sort of the reason why, because it's like, while the stakes are already incredibly high for the first one, they, on an emotional level, just don't hit as hard. That's about it for me.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a bad movie. It's a good one. And it gave us all this stuff that we're still talking about, like, almost 50 years going on.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah.
And then, so the next up on continuing to answer the question, I would also like to throw Supreme Chancellor Valorum into the ring.
Oh, yeah.
Because we got to see his point of view of being kicked out of office. Because he gets kicked out of office.
Yeah.
So his story would be interesting because it would be a political story of like what's going on, like almost House of Cards, like with the Republic and how they voted him out and like how he tries to fight to stay in it, but then the no confidence vote goes through.
Yeah.
So then he has to then watch the election of his replacement and see who it is between Bail Organa, Palpatine, and one other person. And then, of course, Palpatine, we know wins.
Oh, man. The other thing, right? Another person I would like to see a perspective from. I don't remember what their name, but they're like the Gungan that keeps like telling Jar Jar like, what the fuck are you doing?
Captain Tarpals.
Captain Tarple. I want to see what he's thinking.
Captain Tarple would be a good one. I would also, because that would be fun. Yeah, because what is he up to during the like the rest of the event?
He's like, fuck me, man. I gotta figure all this shit out.
Maybe like I feel like his story would either be just before the battle, kind of see him preparing and trying to help Jar Jar prepare as a leader, or it would be something like a little bit, or it would be during the scene and a little bit after when we first see Captain Tarpals and like his perspective of like, God damn it, Jar Jar, why are you back? And like having to get rid of him and be like, okay, he made it out alive. Now what? So that's 5 characters if we're including Palpatine. I would also throw
Windu is also there, but it doesn't.
Miss Windu would make sense as a perspective character.
Yeah.
I could see,
Too much.
Yeah.
You kind of roast
Maul,
a 4-year-old.
if we're gonna put some more main front characters. Maul,
Maul, yeah, his perspective would be good.
because they have usually they have like 3 or 4 main like characters. I would put Maul up there because Maul makes sense in that I would do, because we can't do Naboo, because we already know we've seen in Queen's Peril him preparing for that fight where we see him pacing and getting ready. I think the point of view we should go from would be after his meeting with Palpatine, where he's like, we'll get our revenge, and then he's sent to track down Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan and them. That would be the story, I think, is him tracking them down.
The race announcer from
the 2 heads, Jabba and Gardulla the Hutt, what are they up to? That would be a combined story. It would be probably Jabba's perspective. I wouldn't do a Bib Fortuna story. He's up there, but like he's in that same room, but nobody wants a Bib story. We got one already.
We got one, and he's like, I fucking hate everyone here. I can't wait for the day I kill my boss.
Which makes sense. We kind of predicted that. Watto, maybe? I don't know what I would write with Watto, though.
Yeah.
Maybe the immediate effect of losing Anakin and like what how that affects him like during the rest of the events of the Phantom Menace. Because obviously we leave and then there's still a few days that can happen of like after. Shmi. Gotta have a Shmi story. So that brings us to 11. We're probably not gonna fill that whole list, but like
my son is gone because of space wizards. But also I live in a shitty world run by the cartel.
But there's so many characters to look into. I think that even with just 25, it's hard to come up with like all of them right now on the spot. Maybe Bail Organa, because he's not in the film, but he's referenced.
Yeah.
Because he's somebody because like I said, he's running against Palpatine for the Supreme Chancellor seat. He's mentioned, but he's not in the film. And I think it's before Jimmy Smits was cast as Bell, which I love Jimmy Smits as Bell. Perfect casting, 10 out of 10. But yeah, that would. I think it would be a good. There's a lot of good characters that you can do. I mean, even if you just focus on Coruscant for a bit, or even if you're focusing on the other parts of Naboo that aren't part of the like Queen's Peril stuff, because that's the hard part. You can't have like a C.O. Bibble story because he's already a main character in Queen's Peril, and we kind of know what he was up to. Like we know he was being held prisoner and being tortured by the Nemoidians. Maybe we get a Newt Gunray story, because you got to have at least Newt maybe as one of the Nemoidians, but like there's not
the perspective of a battle droid.
That's actually something I could see them doing, because that's very from a certain point of view to do.
Wait, no, that doesn't. You're under arrest.
We'll get his perspective.
It's the best line.
It'll be his perspective.
The best line from a droid I've ever heard.
I love it.
Like, you're under arrest.
Yeah, it's him contemplating, like, wait a minute, that doesn't fit protocol. What's going on? It was definitely one of my favorite quotes as a kid.
Yeah. In regards to this
part, back to our main top. Yeah, back to Return. I thought it was a fun little.
It was,
because it fit the theme, and so.
The another story that I really liked is the one where, the chronicler is like, "Hey, go and talk to all of these people.
Oh,
here's your interview list. Go ask them questions."
Oh yeah, where Mon Mothma's like, "Hey, you gotta,"
Mon Mothma is like, go talk to like these major leaders.
Yeah. Oh my God, the Han Solo one where he's just like, I don't really care.
You're right. I did outgrow things. I've also outgrown this interview. Goodbye.
Which is very Harrison Ford to just walk out of an interview.
And she's like, wait, what am I supposed to do?
I think Leia's one is the best interview.
Yeah.
And then of course you got Lando, who's like trying to be smooth criminal motherfucker.
I like Luke's because he's very like just direct.
I think
in a cryptic ass way.
Well, because he's direct, but also like he's very self-reflective, and he's like, because even at this age, because remember he's still in his 20s. 20s.
Yeah.
At this point, and he's already like doing self-reflection where he's like, I don't really care. Which is like, sorry.
He's like,
Yeah, it was mine. I don't really consider myself a hero and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's just like, damn, for somebody in his 20s, that's a. But also, everybody kind of hero worships you
Yeah.
because of you being a Jedi.
He's like, look, I'm just one guy.
Which is a theme for Luke, by the way, and it's how we get to Last Jedi Luke and why it makes sense that Last Jedi Luke happens, because he's been hero worshipped his whole life, and that's not good for people. Even if you have superpowers and can back it up, it's still not good.
He's like, I'm kind of tired of being the guy who everyone looks to pull them out of the fire.
And also, that means when I make a mistake, it's a grave mistake. Yeah. He's not allowed to have little mistakes because
only big mistakes.
Yeah, because of who he is.
Yeah. Another good one, I think, like, of course I like the one with Obi-Wan where he sits down with Luke and is like,
it kind of gives a new perspective of from when Luke confronts him, and you get that new perspective of from a certain point of view.
Yeah.
Where the name of this book series comes from, and so getting to see that perspective of how Obi-Wan views that moment, it's interesting.
Yeah. And also Brotherhood is another like good one where Anakin's like, so I died and I'm not sure how to feel about that.
Yeah. And then we get, the what he looks like after. Yeah.
And he's
and
like,
they explain why the special editions changed it to Hayden, and they're like, oh, because he gets to choose, essentially. And also, like, it makes sense because this is when he was last truly.
Yeah, and he's like letting go of like, yeah, I did a bunch of fucked up stuff, but I'm working on it.
Yeah, and I think this is where we start to actually see true redemption from him, because we talked about how, like, in the past, how Anakin doesn't really redeem himself. Like, yeah, he helps kill Palpatine, but that doesn't that's one action against a bunch of terrible actions. That doesn't really truly redeem. Like, it's really hard to do a self-sacrifice redemption story. Like, I think the best redemption stories are told over long form, like long arcs of like showing change within that character. And that's something like I think Avatar: The Last Airbender does best, where we see Zuko's redemption arc, where he actually does atone for everything he's done. And it's harder to do that. It wouldn't be the same if Zuko did one action to save Aang and died. That wouldn't be redemption. That's
I'm gonna say something weird. I'm glad that Anakin has calmed down. I understand why he had to die for it to happen.
Yeah.
But like he always interferes from the afterlife, mind you, to make sure his apprentice and his like son are doing okay.
Yeah, because we've got Shadow of the Sith on the shelf right there to prove that one.
Like, I remember Luke being jumped by like 8 ghosts and him beating the shit out of him.
Shadow of the Sith, yeah.
Shadow of the Sith is a fucking awesome book.
And so, yeah, I liked all these books. Let's kind of wrap it up because we started a little late, and so we talked about honestly what I think most of the stories that we liked in this. I mean, there's so many stories. I think everybody will find something they like in this. I haven't rated something this in a minute.
Oh yeah?
I think I'm gonna give this the 10.
Yeah.
I think this gets the 10.
Fucking better.
Oh, you agree?
Yeah, there are fucking 40 stories in them, and if at least one of them's not a 10.
So I think this book is a 10 out of 10.
Yeah. I'll give it the same.
So, which is really, it's rare for me, but even harder for him. So, like, if he's saying 10 out of 10?
Like, I remember, like, on Tuesday, when you came over, my immediate reaction was, fuck you, how dare you make me read 619 pages.
And now you love, like, almost half, if not more of these stories.
Oh, God.
Which, I mean...
I wish
you had more time.
I had more time to, like, ruminate on them. But I don't, because this is a weekly show.
The good news is, I bought you a copy, so you can always go back and be like, I want to reread this. and maybe you'll enjoy it even more.
Yeah.
Because I think it's not a fact of me not liking any of them. I liked all of them. It's just not all of them are stuff that I can immediately just be like, oh yeah, I remember this one. I
Yep.
remember this one. Like if I go back and I look at what the title and what the picture is of that, I can be like, oh, now I remember, because they all have like a title and picture.
Yeah.
The Akbar one, because I bought my physical copy today. This is the last one I want to talk about before we wrap. So I bought the physical copy today on my way to like get stuff done, and because I did the audiobook, and I didn't realize the Akbar one, because they read what happens in the Akbar one still, because you can do that because the Akbar one is, but it's a comic. And I didn't realize that. And then when I looked in the physical book, I was like, oh, there's a comic in here. And then I read it and I was like, oh, I still had that story because the audiobook still did it. Because when you read the comic, it's still very much done in a way where like it could easily be done as a narrative thing. So I thought that was creative, having a comic one in the middle. And not comedic, but comic, and so, because that Akbar one is not comedic, but there's a lot in there. There's comedy, there's drama, there's, they've got all the different genres really in that, and so 10 out of 10, highly recommend. So thank you all for watching today's episode of Escape Reality Star Wars Talk. I've been your host, Caleb. Be sure to like, comment, follow, subscribe to us. You can find us at Escape Reality Films on YouTube, Twitch, Kick, and TikTok. You can also show your support for us by joining our Patreon, which is at Escape Reality Films. Shout out to Jennifer Brantley.
Thanks.
There you can watch our YouTube content, currently 3 months or so before it's publicly available. Although we are about to go back to normal YouTube content uploads, because like I said at the top, I finished Baldur's Gate 3 finally. So actually, tomorrow a video is going up. So, and I'm excited about that video because I've been holding it for so long, and we've talked about it. It is that D&D game. It's the first session of Acquisitions Incorporated. So, if y'all finally want to see that and y'all haven't, be sure to check out the channel tomorrow on YouTube. And so you can watch our content, though, ahead of time on Patreon for $5 a month. Although if you get the $10 a month, you get a little bit extra. You can also find me on Twitter at EscapeReality94 and Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Caleb.Lockwood. And speaking of D&D,
you can catch me and some friends of ours over at the Steam Dungeon from 5 to 7 Central Standard Time on Sundays, playing a game called Trials of Nevo. It's a 5e game, and well, last week, after an international incident was resolved, by basically 3 gods having an argument, and then deciding maybe we should actually find the guy that brutally maimed our admiral, and not destroying the city.
Probably a good idea.
During basically a festival week where a bunch of things were going on. We had a weird incident where we discovered like our team patron ghost lady. Basically was like, by the way, I figured out a way to revive you guys via Bluetooth connection. I have these bodies in these vats, and when you guys die, or at least things and people you've killed, they come here. I grow the body, and if you guys get too banged up for your body to live, we can just Bluetooth you into a new one.
All right.
It's slightly more complicated than that, but that's what I wrote down in my notes. So we're gonna figure out some stuff.
All right. Because
I caused an international incident.
All right, and that's once again 5 to 7 Central Standard Time on YouTube at
Steam Dungeon.
All right, and once again, thank you all for watching. We'll be taking next week off as I have plans, but we'll be back for the first episode of November with Santa Staros comic. So thank you all once again for watching, and I've spoken.
Later, be safe.